Book 10. Odysseus, his entertainment by Aeolus, of whom he received a fair wind for the present, and all the rest of the winds tied up in a bag, which his men untying flew out, and carried him back to Aeolus, who refused to receive him. His adventure at Laestrygonia with Antiphates, whereof 12 ships he lost 11, men and all. How he went thence to the isle of Aea, where half his men were turned by Circe into swine, and how he went himself, and by the help of Hermes recovered them, and stayed with Circe a year. Then we came to the isle of Aeolian, where dwelt Aeolus, son of Hippotas, dear to the deathless gods, in a floating island, and all about it is a wall of bronze unbroken, and the cliff runs up sheer from the sea. His 12 children abide there in his halls, 6 daughters and 6 lusty sons. And behold, he gave his daughters to his sons to wife. And they feast evermore by their dear father and their kind mother, and dainties innumerable lie ready to their hands, and the house is full of the savour of feasting, and the noise thereof rings round, yea, in the courtyard, by day, and in the night they sleep, each one by his chaste wife, in coverlets and unjointed bedsteads. So when we came to their city, and their goodly dwelling, and the king entreated me kindly for a whole month, and sought out each thing, Aeolus, the ships of the Argives, and the return of the Achaeans. So I told him all the tale in order duly. But when I in turn took the word, and asked of my journey, and bade him send me on my way, he too denied me not, but furnished an escort. He gave me a wallet, made of the hide of an ox of 9 seasons old, which he let flay, and therein bound the ways of all the noisy winds. For him the son of Cronos made keeper of the winds, either to lull or to rouse what blasts he will. And he made it fast in the hold of the ship, with a shining silver thong, that not the faintest breath might escape. Then he set forth the blast of the west wind to blow for me, to bear our ships and ourselves upon our way. But this he was never to bring to pass, for we were undone through our own heedlessness. Welcome to Book 10. I don't know where to even start today. I have so much behind-the-scenes podcasting to get through. I feel like this passage, the start of Book 10, is like, have you ever watched a YouTube video at double speed? Like, suddenly the story is just like, pew, taken right the frick off, and I am having a hard time processing how much information was delivered today. So, after leaving the land of the Cyclopes, they come to an isle of Aeolian, I'm assuming named after the king Aeolus. Or maybe Aeolus was named after the island. Maybe I shouldn't presume things like that. It's a floating island. Interesting. At first I was going to say, aren't all islands floating? But no, Landon, you know how... You know how geography and geology works. I'm wondering if this is a real thing in nature. A floating island, often called a tussock, is a natural free-floating mass of aquatic plants, mud, and peat. These islands drift in marshes, wetlands, and lakes. They can also support dense vegetation, ranging in thickness from a few centimeters to several meters. Isn't a floating island what they encounter in The Life of Pi? God, it's been forever since I've read that book. Interesting, though, that this also goes on to say that floating islands are often used in fantasy and pop culture. I'm wondering if this is one of the fantastical elements of the Odyssey. How much of this information about their land is interesting to us? 6 daughters and 6 sons. The king decides to have his sons marry his daughters. Okay. We'll see if that comes to be important before I comment further on it. But I think, more importantly, since they are in the mindset, Odysseus and his crew, of making their way back to Ithaca now, coming to this island, seeking for assistance, saying that he too denied me not, but furnished an escort. What is that escort, you ask? Well, if you didn't catch this in the details, basically, this guy gives him a wallet. I'm going to go ahead and say it's not the exact thing you put in your back pocket, but some sort of container, made of the hide of an ox, a vintage ox, I'm assuming, noting its honorability. Again, Odysseus is just going from one place to another as a suppliant, just getting all of his due. But in that wallet, quote, "Therein he bound all the ways of the noisy winds. For him the son of Cronos made the keeper of the winds, either to lull or to rouse what blasts he will." We've talked about the directional winds before, northeast, southwest winds, and this is a wallet that basically gives the sails of Odysseus's ships what they need to be on their way. However, in the same passage, we won't know the details of it, but it goes on to say, "But this he was never to bring to pass, for we were undone through our own heedlessness." Well, that holds true based on Odysseus's response to Polyphemus as he was escaping the island and giving out his name and address and social security number and everything else that Polyphemus might need to give to Poseidon to track Odysseus down. I'm wondering, and we'll just find out tomorrow or the next day, whether or not their heedlessness has anything to do with the intervention of Poseidon. I also want to comment, now that we've done 10 books, we have that paragraph at the very start that is unique to this edition that we are reading, that basically lays out the chapter. So I guess if you don't like spoilers, you probably shouldn't listen to that little paragraph. But I was like, why do these exist? Because as I told you, I'm also reading the Penguin Deluxe version of this, different translation, and they don't have anything like this in there. And I'm wondering if this was created for audiences of the time who weren't as exposed to archaic language. Not that modern readers are that exposed to archaic language, and just needed a kind of roadmap of where things are going so that they can continually check in. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it does feel like it gives too many details, but there have been a number of books that I've read, especially recently, where I'm like, a little clarification would go a long way in some instances. For instance, I just started reading Gene Wolfe for the first time, and he is a dense writer. The book I'm currently reading is The Fifth Head of Cerberus, and it's basically 3 novellas, and at the close of each, as it moves into each one, it takes a completely different mode. And if you weren't really paying attention, you might not even recognize that they're all related to one another. So a little bit of hand-holding, I don't know. But then the hand-holding is counterintuitive to what, writers like Gene Wolfe are trying to accomplish. And is it too much to ask for us to really just pay attention and try to suss out these details and information for ourselves? That's what I'm doing here on this show, with or without these opening paragraphs. All right, well, we will be diving deep into Book 10 as we move through this. Looks like we're going to go see Circe at some point. For those of you reading along, now is the time to go read the book Circe by Madeline Miller, a great second perspective on what is to come, or read this chapter and then go read Circe. As far as the behind-the-scenes stuff of the podcast, there's been a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes on the Gruntwork Podcast Network following Supporter Month. A few changes are happening. Right now, the YouTube channel is on a very brief hiatus. It might even be up as far as tomorrow's episode, but you can get these, obviously, in the traditional podcatchers, which is where I'm assuming you're hearing this. But it's been a while since I've been behind the mic for this show. I think I said that at the beginning of the last book, too. I want to get back on a consistent recording schedule. There's just been a lot of uncertainty and lack of clarity of, I guess, what the future of all of these shows is. Not to say that anything is in danger of ending, but rising costs, life changes, they've been disrupting a consistent recording schedule. So luckily, haven't missed a day yet. I don't anticipate missing a day, but that just makes me thank you all the more for listening day in and day out, because if no one was listening, it would be so easy to just say, you know what, I can't wrap my head around that right now, and we'll return to it at some point. But You're listening. I'm here. We're both enjoying going through this book. I really love reading it with you. I hope you'll continue to stick with me as we push through Book 10. Let's see where we go tomorrow. So until then, okay, goodbye. Odyssey is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. The show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Odyssey, written by Homer. Theme song by Neuroflow. You can support this show and other shows like it by going to patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.